Welcome to Power Play's Extended Play series, a short podcast series of interviews with influential electric co-op managers that are innovating. I'm Terry Vishwanath, the lead economist for Power, Energy, and Water at CoBank. Our Extended Play content is actually a 5-part series recorded to celebrate National Co-op Month in October. Over the course of the month, Tamra, Reynolds, and I will be sharing and celebrating, if you will, success stories from our electric co-ops. These are really uplifting stories of community leadership, energy transformation, and innovation that, well, they inspire. In the third of our series, my co-host Tamra Reynolds, managing director at CoBank, catches up with Luis Reyes. He's the chief executive officer and general manager at Kit Carson Electric. That's a rural electric cooperative serving 29,000 members in Taos, Colfax, and Rio Arriba counties in north central New Mexico. About 5 years ago, Luis and Kit Carson's board engaged with their members to understand what sort of energy supply the community wanted and what other services the co-op should provide. With over 300 days of solar and strong environmental commitments, Luis found common ground for developing a vibrant solar program. By the end of this year, Kit Carson will have successfully achieved its goal of meeting 100% of its daytime electricity requirements with solar. That's a full year earlier than what the board originally committed to. It's a really great story. But for me, it's really exciting to hear Louis' vision about how co-ops can evolve with their membership. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Listen in with Tamara's conversation with Louis.
Luis, good morning. It's so great to see you again.
Good morning, Tamra. How are you doing today?
Good. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about Kit Carson and some of the solar initiatives and storage initiatives that you guys have going on, and really just kind of dive into why you guys are looking at that and what role the membership plays and what role the board plays in that, and how you go about thinking about where you want to take Kit Carson Electric over the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, Tamra, to your first question, the members drive Kit Carson. We have a very active and progressive membership. We're located right at the base of the Rocky Mountains in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and our prime economy is tourism. So we have a lot of ski areas. We have ranching and farming. So the environment is extremely important to us, not because of tourism, because of our livelihood in ranching and farming. So we need blue skies and clean water and clean air. And I think the difference with Kit Carson and its members is they really want the cooperative to walk the talk, just not talk about it and give excuses why we couldn't do that. It's been a little over 5 years that we decided to really engage the membership on what kind of energy supply do you really want in the future, and what other services do you want Kit Carson to offer. So the board set up meetings, and at the end of the day, renewable energy was one of the top things they wanted us to pursue. And so we embarked on a goal to hit 100% daytime solar. Up here in northern New Mexico, we have over 300 days of solar days that the sun shines practically all day. So that made sense for us. We had already a radio station that was completely solar, and we had a bunch of different groups that were interested in solar for different reasons. We had old Spanish land grant folks who really wanted to use it to leverage or to encourage people to go up to the mountains because it was clean air. We have 2 tribes, 2 pueblos that really embraced renewable energy as basically a getting back to Mother Earth and what Mother Earth can offer as prosperity. And we have a very, I guess, dynamic, progressive membership that really wanted us to see clean renewable energy alternatives. And so we embarked on that. By the end of this year, we'll hit that goal. We've done it with distributed energy. So we have solar arrays, about 18 of them, ranging from 40 kW at parking canopies to one under construction, a 15 megawatt array with battery storage. And they're located around our system. One of the things we found is our members wanted their own solar facility. So we have kind of spread them out across different communities to make sure everyone has their own power. And I think that's helped because they see where the power is coming from. Every day they pass it. In the early days, solar was more expensive. And now, as solar has become more mainstream, it's become the cheapest power supply. We decided then to add storage. So we start to understand the value of storage, the value streams of storage, and what storage could help in the future with both non-solar times and resiliency. Really, what's missing in this transition to renewable energy is that transition generating supply. Right now, we have natural gas and coal that is baseload, but what do we do when those start to close? And so I think it's important to start getting some experience on batteries, see what their limitations are, understand their cost and their life cycle. And so it puts us in a good position to be ahead of the curve to make sure when that last coal plant is closed, that we can continue to offer reliable, affordable electricity, which is kind of the foundation of the co-op program.
Maybe you could give us some more background on some of the work that you're doing to keep your members engaged and how you keep them sort of top of mind and what their needs are, what you need to do to engage them, at Kit Carson. How do you keep that going?
So Tamra, one of the first and most basic things in member engagement, outside of the board meeting, is we really have a lot of member meetings where we meet in person. During COVID, a little bit more difficult, but we sit down with groups of customers. So we have a lot of consumer groups. We call them consumer advisory groups that we've set up, and we talk to them all the time. We also set up meetings with our two pueblos. They do have different and unique issues that they have to address. And then what we do is bring all that information back to the board to formulate policy, to determine what are the common areas that we have in our community. In the past, you knew everyone who went to the grocery store and you knew everyone who went to the post office and schools. And now as people have moved out because they're tired of the urban lifestyle and want to live in rural areas, you just don't know everybody. And they have different views how things should run. Some have never been exposed to a co-op. So just the education of them saying we're not an investor-owned utility, we're the good guys. That takes a lot of communication. And so we start that as a foundation, kind of the good old-fashioned, just sit down and talk out what's important to you, and let's see if we can deliver that. Then we formulate policy and programs. A good example is we just started an EV charging program. We really didn't have a sense of how many folks had EVs in the area, and how many chargers outside of the ones Kit Carson had. And so we basically called a community meeting where we got about 50 different entities and individuals to talk about electric vehicle charging and the future of EVs. And now they have made it a priority that Kit Carson should create an EV charging infrastructure for both our tourists and also create a program for home charging. So here's a good example of you talk to your members, you bring experts, you get some consensus of how to move forward. We brought in our policy, our elected officials, Tamra, to make sure the codes, and we had locations to place EV charging. We then met with CoBank to determine how do you finance this, and then you put a plan together. So now you have a community plan around EV charging that's been embraced by the entire community. In fact, to the point where now people are asking for their charger in their neighborhood. So I think that the more you engage people, listen to both what they want us to do and their complaints, really makes them feel at home that they do have a voice in at least in this case, their energy future. It's got us a pretty robust solar program, a pretty robust broadband program. Our storage is starting to take off. We're now starting to talk about distributed storage to address maybe some of the wildfire issues we have in some of our mountain communities. And so you have both the Forest Service and ski areas embracing that idea. And now we have a really robust discussion and program started on electric vehicles, all started by asking the members, what is it you want?
So can we talk about maybe that a little bit, and talk about how some of those decisions you're making around solar and storage, and even broadband for that matter, sort of transition what that model looks like and what that means for you guys as a successful service provider for your membership?
I think that the business model is going to change for co-ops, for all utilities, where we're going to be more service providers, maybe wire companies, to deliver different types of services to our members. First, because our demographics are changing. There are not very many people who remember that first light bulb coming on, kind of on the ranch or the farm, or in small rural communities. And so the new generation, electricity is not a luxury anymore. It's expected to be on 24/7. It's expected to be affordable, and the expectation is everyone should have it. And I think the other thing that's happening is technology is really changing the energy landscape. So I do think we have a lot of folks that are willing to now generate their own, whether that's through rooftop solar. I've always believed that fuel cells are going to become mature and offer a supply. It's almost like a cell phone. A fuel cell for me is one that is going to be powered by hydrogen that you get from the sun, and it's portable. You can kind of plug and play it into your house, and you can move it around if you have that ability to. But I guess my point is the way we deliver power in the future is not the way we deliver power today. And the expectations of our members in the past are already changing, where members want services from us because kilowatt hours are easy to get now. But I can see a whole slew of energy services being offered to our members where they want to generate their own energy. They may want to generate their own energy at different times. So then we act more like a battery. And I think we should be in a position to support those ideas instead of fight those ideas. Because again, we have to get back to our roots where our members are our owners. And I think the final thing I'd like to touch on is really the benefits of having a broadband network that will tie all this together. And so when I talk about broadband in this respect, we can say it's used to make a more intelligent grid so that we can offer our members real-time pricing or dynamic pricing. We can give them access to the grid to know if this is a good time to sell power or not. So they start making decisions and choices, and we can then, in essence, conduct that transaction for them. We can start putting more intelligent devices in the home so that we can be smarter about what kind of power supply we need to deliver and be more efficient. And I think just with the experiences we had through COVID, those areas that lacked broadband really, I think, didn't weather COVID as well as those of us who had broadband in rural areas. But again, I think these are all services that we can offer our members and bring value. I think that was the initial intent of the co-op program in the 30s, was to bring some value to rural areas. Bringing electricity back then, in my mind, was a form of economic development. And the byproduct was we'd electrify the rural areas that fed us. And I think we're in our second big movement of bringing broadband to rural areas. Since we did a great job in bringing electric service to rural areas, Congress, USDA, policymakers across the country are looking at co-ops now to deliver broadband because we did do a good job in delivering electricity. And I think that's a second major step in bringing more economic development opportunities to our communities. Tamra, because the fact is, if we don't do that, who's going to do that? And if we don't offer services and really start to change as our members change, then all that's going to happen is they'll decide they're going to find leaders to accommodate their needs, or we'll start to lose more people in rural areas where they're going to move to urban areas because the opportunities aren't there anymore. So I think we're at a point to really kind of take the bull by the horns and be the real leaders that we've been for the last 80 years, or we can decide that the game's over and let someone else do it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Luis. And I really appreciate what you said about thinking about yourself as a service provider, in addition to all the things you've already done for the last 80 plus years, right? We appreciate your time today talking about all the things going on at Kit Carson. I look forward to continuing to watch how you guys innovate and meet member needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The information provided in this podcast is not intended to be investment, tax, or legal advice and should not be relied upon by listeners for such purposes. The information contained in this podcast has been compiled from what CoBank regards as reliable sources. However, CoBank does not make any representation or warranty regarding the content and disclaims any responsibility for the information, materials, third-party opinions, and data included in this podcast. In no event will CoBank be liable for any decision made or actions taken by any person or persons relying on the information contained in this podcast.